Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So as requested by my Instagram followers, I thought I would sit here and talk about my birth story. It was a little bit full on and just a bit dramatic. So I've got Fletcher here to remind me of a few hazy details because I was on quite a bit of, what is it?
The gas.
Yeah, a lot of gas, and I had an epidural as well. So yes, so I had a really long pregnancy. It kind of dragged on a little bit towards the end just because I did start getting a lot of nerve pain and just like a lot of lower, just kind of really uncomfortable, could barely walk type pain, just like I was kind of being stabbed at points. Like it was just totally horrific.
I have to put your shoes on for you every day.
Yeah, so it just really dragged on, and I wanted to get induced earlier, but it wasn't recommended. Thinking back, I'm glad I didn't, because Teddy came out like a super healthy baby, and almost 4 kilos, but I did get to, I think, 41 weeks, and I was just like about to pop. So it all started on, I think it was Friday the 28th. It was my sister's 17th birthday, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was pretty huge. Like remember feeling just so horrible.
Yeah, trouble fitting through the front door.
Yeah, I was feeling so horrible leaving. And I decided to dress up and put on some heels and go anyway, just because she really wanted me there and I wanted to be there. So I went, and I remember getting to mum and dad's front door and just having to like lean up on the wall and just go trying to catch my breath, because I was having like, it wasn't like a contraction, but it was like a really full on, I think it was like a Braxton Hicks.
Yeah, you had Braxton Hicks.
Yeah.
Almost the whole pregnancy, on and off.
Yeah. But these were like nothing I'd ever felt before, so I was like, oh, maybe it's not too far away. But anyway, the rest of the night I kind of had them every, how often would you say I was having them?
You were having your Braxton Hicks like a good every 10 minutes. Braxton Hicks cramps like every 10 minutes, I'd say.
Yeah, and they just totally leave me breathless. It just took me so long to catch my breath after each one. But yeah, I kind of pushed through. I think we left kind of early just because I wasn't feeling that great. But then the next morning, I slept fine and everything, but I woke up about 5:30.
Yeah.
And Saturday was the day that we kind of always had a bit of a sleep in, but I was just up super early. And I'd started having like this really uncomfortable tightening in my belly. And Fletcher was still sleeping, so I just let him sleep, and I picked myself up. No, sorry, actually I was laying in bed and I had a contraction timer, and I didn't know what a contraction felt like, obviously, because this is my first pregnancy, so I was kind of like, oh, is this a contraction or is it not? So I just kind of started timing every time I was having a tightening in my belly, and it got to a point where they were about
8 minutes apart?
Yeah, about 8 minutes apart, the longest one being 10 minutes.
I think the longest were like about 15.
Yeah,
at the most. And
this is like 6 a.m. in the morning when I actually started timing them.
So he said, morning. I'm like, what? He said, oh, I'm in pre-labour, I've been having contractions.
Yes.
And I jumped out of bed, looked at your phone, you said you'd been timing the contractions, and I was going through all the different times that you had been having contractions, and they were quite close together.
Yeah, so I was just kind of like on a high, and I remember sitting in bed with Fletcher and I was like, oh, you know, everyone says labour is so uncomfortable and like just so much pain, but I'm fine.
TV.
Like I'm sitting here watching TV and I'm fine. And Fletcher's like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, no, like I feel really good. So anyway.
And thus begun the longest day ever.
Yeah, so this is about 8:30 in the morning, and I was literally just on the biggest high because I'd waited for these contractions, like proper consistent contractions that I knew weren't Braxton Hicks, for 41 weeks. And so I said to Fletcher, no, I really want to keep them going. I don't just want to sit around. So I think we went downstairs. Did we make some breakfast or something?
Yeah, we had breakfast, and we actually ended up spending the day playing Nintendo Wii tennis.
Yeah.
For hours and hours and hours, just
Pretty
to try and
sure.
pass the time and to keep you busy.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure we played that from like 9 a.m. to about like 3.
Yeah.
Just having like small breaks every time a contraction would come.
I think I told you I remember telling you to go upstairs and have a nap at one point.
Yeah.
I remember saying, you need to make sure you keep eating,
Yeah.
so that you have no fuel in your body,
Yeah.
and to try and get a nap, because it was pretty obvious it was going to be a long night.
Yeah, because I remember saying to Fletcher, I said, I know a lot of people have this like a couple of days before they even go into labour, so...
We'd watched, like 20 or 30 birth vlogs?
Yeah, I made Fletcher
from
sit down
all
and
around
watch
the
all
world.
the birth vlogs.
Yeah, just scoured all of YouTube, looking at everyone's different YouTube vlogs about their birth experiences, and so it was kind of like surreal that it was actually happening.
We maybe sat down and had like a late lunch or something.
Yeah, we had a chilled out afternoon, and then I remember saying, let's get you something.
Let's get something really carby.
Again, food focused, something really carby, something with a heap of carbs. So we got fish and chips, except without fish.
We just got, I think, a Chico roll and chips, because that's just like a favourite of mine. I've just always loved Chico rolls.
And that was about 5:30, 6 o'clock.
And I remember when Fletcher was in the fish and chip shop, I just had the biggest contraction I had ever had. Like, I don't think...
Of the whole day, yeah.
Of the whole day, there was just nothing that compared to this contraction, and I just... Did I cry?
Yeah, you did. I came back and it wasn't like a...
It wasn't like an hysterical cry,
no,
but it was like just tears
up.
running down my face.
You teared
It's
up.
just, yeah.
And then, we brought dinner home.
And then I said to Fletcher, I really don't want to go in yet because... Oh, we had been in contact with the hospital too.
I think it was before we went to get dinner.
Yeah.
I rang the birth suite.
And I remember saying to Fletcher, I don't want to go in too early because they're just going to send us home if I'm
you
not...
were terrified of having the everything ready to go and then being sent back.
Yeah, so...
And we were so keen to go. We had our bags packed for the hospital. This is in July.
Yeah.
We had Teddy. We had our bags packed since April.
Yeah.
Maybe even earlier than that. If in case for some reason you went into labour incredibly
I was really
early.
worried about going early. I'd just seen too many people go early, so I just wanted to be kind of prepared for
we had the
everything.
car seat even before that.
Yeah.
The car seat was in the car for like 6 months.
Our midwife thought we were just so funny.
She thought we were
Just like,
crazy.
see, organised. Like, started getting anything organised.
Do you have a room for the nursery yet?
Just like we've done everything, car seats in.
And you had the cutest little freak out. It was kind of like a mini panic attack. And I know that because I've never seen you pace back and forth before. And you were going, babe, we gotta go. We gotta go right now. We gotta go right now. We gotta go right now. I'm like, calm your farm.
No, what happened
We'll
was
go.
I was sitting there eating my chips and I'm like, oh, this is so nice, having something really nice and carby. Because I think I'd been eating pretty healthy all day.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to get just like a full-on cheat meal feed. So I was sitting there and I'm like, just kind of getting into my Chico roll. Then I just had the biggest contraction. So it just totally took over my body and I just kind of didn't know what to do. I just burst into tears. And I remember I was sitting on my chair and I kind of just went, like, slid down and just kind of, like, I think I was kneeling on the floor, kind of over the table for a second. And then I pulled myself up and I went upstairs and I just had another one. And I think they were like 2-3 minutes apart. And I just was I was freaking out. I remember coming up to the bathroom and kneeling again, holding on to the towel rails, just like crying, just rocking back and forth, saying, I can't do this, like this is so hard, I'm in so much pain. So we've got to go. And like, we just didn't want to go too early. So I was like to her, no, it's okay, we'll just wait a little bit longer. And I got downstairs and I'm like, no, we have to go now, we have to go now, we have to go now. Like I was just like pacing up and down.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
A full-on meltdown.
I remember giving you a big hug and saying, this is what we wanted.
Yeah.
We're going to meet our little boy tonight.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and...
So we got in the car, I rang the hospital again and said, we're coming in. We didn't want anyone to know that we were going to the hospital because we both wanted it to be sort of our moment. Just,
yeah, first baby, our moment.
We didn't want any of our family there in the waiting room waiting to hear what was happening. So we went to the hospital without telling a soul.
I just didn't want the pressure of having people waiting.
Yeah.
Yes.
And no one would do anything wrong. No one would. But it would just be like,
an extra weight on my shoulders, I think.
Yeah. So we went in, parked up, got a good park. That was good. And
we had to wait for my contractions to stop, to like go in between a contraction because it's such a long walk into the hospital. I didn't want to be contracting on the way there, although we did anyway.
Yeah, and we've actually got some footage of me doing a little piece to camera. Yeah, and even started doing YouTube videos then. I remember you saying, can you do some filming tonight on your phone?
Keep in mind that I didn't say anything because I think I'd just been crying as well. Yeah. So I kind of just sit there.
No, you almost had your head out the window on the way to the hospital. Just got to the hospital waiting for a contraction so that we can make a dash for the birth suite. Hayley's handling it like a champ. She's been having contractions since 6 a.m. this morning. And it got to the point, we were planning on staying at home a little bit longer, but obviously we didn't know. They got to the point where Hayley was in tears at every contraction. But you're doing well. It's not too... Hardest part's done, really. You've been lugging around this big belly for 9 months. And then once we got down into the hospital...
Oh, I can't believe it. They made us sit there and wait.
Well, the first thing is the hospital that we went to, the car park's in a different block to the main hospital, and they actually made a joke about it in our antenatal classes that the big walkway, it's a big bridge from the car park to the hospital. It's probably about 200-300 metres long. I think the people at the hospital take enjoyment out of seeing pregnant women try and get across this bridge, because Hayley was only getting about, I don't know, I think you stopped probably twice along the way.
It was,
but it was freezing.
It was freezing, yeah, it was like
we didn't bring enough clothes, that was one thing I would change. We got there and they made us wait briefly. Which
just made me...
They do that all on purpose, to some degree.
Yeah, but I was kind of just like getting impatient. I was like, this is so weird. I didn't think we'd be stopping to sit down and wait. And
then they took you into one of the screening beds, so they call them. It wasn't the actual birth suite, it was then the lady came through and said, alright, we'll do an examination.
I think we have footage from that too.
What's happening, Hayley?
It's the hiccups.
So every time it bumps, that's him having a hiccup. We can hear it on the heart rate monitor. What do you think he's eating?
Fish and chips.
Because that's what we had for dinner, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Fish and chippies. So we did the examination and said that you were 3 centimetres dilated. And Hayley looks at me and she goes, you're all grinning from ear to ear, and because you knew that the cut-off was 4 centimetres, but they won't send you home at 3
in case you dilate.
In case you dilate a centimetre in the car on the way home.
Yeah, and I was in a lot of pain. I think she could see that.
Yeah, so the midwife or the trainee midwife said, all right, we'll organise a birth suite for you.
Yeah, I remember just being like, ah.
It was like, okay, now we're in business.
Yeah.
Now it's happening.
But it all just really went downhill from there.
Yeah.
I think I sent you to get the bags because I told Fletcher not to get the bags, so I just felt like, oh no, don't jinx it, don't bring all the bags and then we'll have to go back.
We just had your handbag initially.
Yeah.
So they set you up in a birth suite, one of the big ones with the big pool. Because
I wanted a water birth.
You were keen on a water birth.
Because we'd seen them on YouTube and they're just like the most beautiful thing ever. And I was like, oh, so graceful, I want to do that.
I was against it from the beginning because I thought it sounded a bit sort of hippie. Or I don't know, I just didn't see the appeal to it. But all the birth vlogs we had watched, all the women that were having giving birth, on the bed.
Yeah.
Bent over and moaning and groaning
no.
in like bridge position on their knees and stuff, or walking around. And then you look at all the water birth vlogs, and women are chilled out, candles
it just
on,
looks so beautiful,
breathing
graceful.
slowly, and the husband or the partner's next to the bath, just
like Fletcher Brody's swimmers.
Met our midwife and trainee midwife. They were really nice. I went to go and get the bags from the car, and when I came back, after we'd told them you didn't really want to try the gas because you're worried about
drugs.
Yeah, you're worried about getting nauseous.
Mm.
I've come back 10 minutes later with the bags, and you're already high on the gas, eating lollies, cracking jokes with the midwives.
At that point, I was like, oh, gas is amazing. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
oh, I don't feel anything.
And then, so that was at about probably 8-9 o'clock. Time sort of went pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I think at about 10 o'clock, you'd said to the midwives that you're in pain quite a lot, and they had suggested you go into the shower,
Yeah.
and sit on a chair and have the shower spraying onto your back because you had bad lower back pain. And that was meant to be like in the interim of jumping into the bath.
Yeah.
Even though you were still only 3 centimeters dilated, and they were hesitant to get you in the bath at first.
First of all, no.
Because
first of all,
sometimes that can slow down. The dilate. So you're in the shower for about an hour.
And I think I had
And
water on my front.
Yeah,
and
they
back.
had 2 shower heads going, one on the front of your body and one on the back of your body.
Yeah.
And they'd set up the gas in the shower.
Yeah.
And the problem is you were so spaced out on the gas, you were having trouble
rocking.
You were having trouble bringing the little nozzle, like the little hose, to your mouth. And at that point, your lips had gone all dry and wrinkly and blue. And I remember you saying, "I want to get out of the shower," and I went out to the ladies and said, "Can you run the bath, even if it slows down the process? Haley just wants to be comfortable, and we can get her out of the bath, whatever." So they got the bath running, and within the space of 10 minutes, all our plans went out the window because...
And like we didn't really have a set birth
No,
plan.
we were open to everything.
We were very open, but...
within a quick space of time, I went back in to see you.
My contractions like 30 seconds apart.
You were like screaming. You didn't have a chance. It got to a point where you weren't able to
breathe,
take a breath, settle your heart rate in between the contractions.
I think even like with that, I was even like, because I get claustrophobic in the shower and I have asthma, so I think even then I was...
Yeah, it was a dark, hot, steamy
struggling
bathroom.
with that, and then to have to deal with my 30 seconds apart contractions, it was just too much. And I said, no, can the bath. I said,
no, well, what happened is you looked at me, tears pouring out of your eyes, and you said, "It's so sad, broke my heart." And you said, "I'm sorry, I failed." It's not the case. If you want to get some kind of pain relief, more than also gas, there's nothing wrong with that. That's so common. It means you're going to have probably a nicer birth.
Well, you know the reason I said that.
In those natal classes, we were heavily brainwashed at this particular hospital.
Saying that
how awful an epidural is.
Yep.
They were all encouraging and all for water births and everything. And then when it came to the subject of getting an epidural, they brought up a photo on the slideshow of this doctor with a giant needle, pretty much over his shoulder, as if it was some kind of weapon, going into this poor woman's back, and that just turned us off at big time. They were saying how if they miss, you could end up with issues in this spine.
Yeah.
It was. Ugh. So you thought getting an epidural
was me failing,
which is so not the case.
Yeah.
It was just what had to happen.
So I was pretty upset. Yeah, I remember I was pretty upset telling you.
I went out to the girls and said, "You can stop filling up the bath. We want to request an epidural," and they were couldn't have been more helpful.
Yeah.
Let's get her dry and let's get her into the bed. Maybe we'll dial up the gas until the anaesthetist comes. And this was at about probably 11 p.m. And that's when it got worse because it was a Saturday night and with hindsight, I now know that there was only one anaesthetist
Yeah.
rostered on for like the entire hospital, because we had one half an hour delayed promise of her arriving after another.
And I
after
just
another.
remember I literally was just on the bed, just crying, just like...
You didn't, yeah, you...
And I was swaying because I was on so much gas.
I had to hold you up. I had to hold the gas
I think I even
hose up
threw
to your
up.
mouth. Yep, you threw up. You were practically a zombie. You were begging me to get the epidural. And I was trying not to, I was pissed off. We waited until 4 a.m. until this woman turned up. And it was just like something out of a horror movie. You were coming up to me and you were bawling your eyes out and you were saying, do you think I'll ever get it? Do you think they'll ever turn up? Do you think it's ever going to happen? Oh, man, it was just the worst.
But in this time, I don't think I was dilating.
They hadn't...
And my waters hadn't broken. Keep
No.
in mind, my waters hadn't broken.
No. And the whole time, the other issue we had, so that went on for 5 hours. It took the lady 5 hours to come around because now, granted, there were other emergencies happening within the hospital.
Yeah.
So that's why obviously there was no reason to get mad at the staff.
That
this lady was obviously
hard
calling.
for me to comprehend when I
Yeah.
was in so much pain. Like I felt like I was dying.
And there was one scary moment where Teddy's heart rate dropped really low.
Yeah.
And we went from having one midwife in the room to 4 midwives and about 3 doctors and all the lights on, coming up to you saying, now Hayley, if we can't get Barb's heart rate up again, we're going to have to consider a cesarean. Now, is that okay? Do you know what the steps are with that?
Yeah.
And at that time, I'd been pushed to the side of the room. I was up against the wall, and you rolled over and looked at me, and there's tears coming out. You were all freaked out about being rushed into an operating room. But they got they call it a plug onto his head.
Yeah.
It was, they used like a little stick thing to put on his head. And again, with hindsight, we now know that was you dilating a little bit more.
Yeah.
So we went from 3 to 7 when that happened. So yeah, the lady, the anaesthetist turned up, and she was the nicest, very nice. She was very professional. She got it done in about maybe 20 minutes. It was not scary at all. The myths we've been told about getting it too early and it running out were wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's on a drip. They could easily just top it up.
Top it up. It had a button.
The needle was a tiny little like IV thing.
Yeah.
It was. I wish we'd had asked for the epidural
Yeah.
the second we walked in the door.
So yeah, I got the epidural, and then I was laying on the bed, and there was just like, it was honestly like a fire hydrant hose was just blowing out my area. Like it was just, I'm sure it didn't look like that.
No, it didn't.
But that's what it felt like.
It didn't. It was a sudden. It was a sudden sort of.
And I just freaked out. I was like, oh my god, I'm sitting in a puddle of water. Oh my god, it's like a
You
hose.
freaked out. You gripped the bed. And you go, babe, my water's breaking. My water's breaking. My water's breaking. I'm like, that's okay. That's good news. And the midwives were saying, yep, that's all good. That's all good.
The epidural didn't work on one side of my body. So
Yeah.
a lot of the time,
They reckon Teddy's head was right on your spine.
yeah, so he was posterior.
Yeah, and he was blocking.
So his back was on my back.
He was blocking one side of the pain relief basically. So when they would then they asked you to swap sides and lie on the side that was not getting any pain relief to try and drain the epidural.
But because I had no
down
feeling from
into
there
the-
on, they had to flip me
Yeah,
themselves.
that's not a problem. But what would happen is when you would flip over to that side, his heart rate would go down.
Yeah.
And everyone would come back into the room, the lights would go on. And
Yeah. The amount of times they came in and said you're going to have a cesarean, then it was like, oh no, all good.
Yeah, it was at about 4:30 in the morning. They said, okay, you've had obviously a crap night. Let's try and get you and your husband some sleep.
Yeah.
When you woke up at about 6:30 or 7, you were still 7 centimeters dilated. 9 in the morning, they said, alrighty, you're slowly starting to dilate. head midwife for the morning walked in, and Haley goes, "Oh, I used to live next door to her. She was my neighbour for like 10 years."
I don't think she knew, but to have someone who you live next door to for, I think we were living there for like 10 years or something.
Yeah.
I used to have sleepovers with her, and she had her hand like just,
Right.
and I was just mortified.
She was trying to make you dilate.
It was really awkward. Even being like stretched open is awkward. To have your ex-neighbour do it, it was just crazy.
Okay, so at about 9 a.m, 9:30, they reckoned you were 10 centimetres dilated, and they asked you to start pushing. They set the bed up in a different way and got your legs up in the stirrups. And
Which, by the way, was very uncomfortable to have your legs like big Y.
sprawled out. And you pushed from about there 9:30 until sort of at least sort of 10ish.
Yeah.
And on each contraction, 3 big long pushes in each contraction, and nothing was happening. And the biggest slap in the face. So the doctor came in and he said, "I'm happy with the way you're pushing. I just think you need a bit of help." So I think what we're going to try and do is they call it instrument delivery, where they use a suction vacuum cup or the forceps, so salad tongues.
Yeah.
And the first thing they tried was, and he said at the end, that does also increase the risk of tearing, which was one of the phobias or one of the fears you had.
Yeah.
And the first next contraction came along, and he put the suction cup on little Teddy's noggin, and I don't think it was a very good tool, in my opinion. But the way they pull on it, it was like, it just wasn't like,
it
wasn't strong enough. It wasn't like beefy enough.
No.
So they got that on, he's pulling on it, and the doctor said, "Again, I'm happy with the way you're pushing, I just don't think that was the right tool for the job."
Yeah.
I think what we're going to try is forceps and probably an episiotomy, which is where they cut with the scissors.
Yeah.
Which again was something we were pretty fearful of. And next contraction came along, he got the forceps in, they separate, he puts in one side and then the other side, and they link together in the middle and then clamp. And they got it around little Teddy's head, and another contraction comes along, and push and push and push, and you were so exhausted. It was such a long night. Finally started to see his little head, all the little black hair you had on the top of your head, what do they call it, Marconium?
Yeah.
And finally came out, and I will never forget the sound. I'll never forget the sound of you tearing as he came out.
Yeah.
It was a little,
and I didn't even know. I actually didn't know. I didn't know that they did an episiotomy or anything.
Yeah, they'd put an anaesthetic block in your area.
But they said to the
They're just yelling, push, push, push. And came out. It was all blue, and I cut the cord, and I had seen. I'm not particularly grossed out by like gory things, but because I saw everything happen. Because I was actually holding your left leg up, and there was 2 midwives holding your right leg up.
Yeah.
And so all that happened. Cut the cord, and he wasn't breathing very well or at all, so they rushed him over to the little fold-out table they have that comes out from the wall with all the breathing tools and stuff. And had the little mask on him. No one was worried. They had the baby doctor in there who was, seeing to him and making sure he was okay. And he was telling me to put your finger in Teddy's palm to try and get him to squeeze back. Apparently that helped, which he did squeeze, which was pretty cool. I remember tearing up and freaking out, but firstly I'd just seen my wife go through this horrible bloody birth. It was like a bloodbath. On top of that, our little boy wasn't breathing properly. And that was the longest 10 minutes of my life when he eventually got the fluid out of his lungs, coughed it up or whatever.
The whole time I didn't know what was going on.
So you gave birth to the placenta, again, TMI. Because that's like the grossest thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And that was at 10:47 a.m. Little Teddy was born.
Yeah. But like when they were stitching me up, it was only then I was kind of learning that I had been
stage 2 tearing.
So at the end, after giving birth to Teddy and the placenta, I kind of didn't know what was going on. It was only like a couple of minutes later that I realised she'd started stitching me. And by the way, the lady that was stitching me looked like Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, she looked. It was her full-on doppelganger. At the end of when she was stitching you up, I actually said to Hayley, trying to lift the mood of the whole room up, "Darling, I bet you didn't know you'd be getting stitched up by Miley Cyrus today." And she took it. She heard what I said, and she goes, "Yeah, I get that all the time." In fact, I once got into a club that Liam Hemsworth was at, rocked up to his booth, and then almost got arrested or something like that because he was so mad for impersonating his girlfriend. Like, it was just same mouth, same big teeth. She almost even sounded like her.
Crazy.
But she was nice. She sorted you out.
Yeah. So yeah, I was kind of laying there doing that, and that took ages because I had a lot of stitches. The aftermath of birth was just horrific.
Yeah, it was over an hour. You didn't get... Teddy was crying and waiting for his first feed until after 12 p.m. So it was over an hour until we actually got to put Teddy on you to try and have a little bit of a feed. And
then after all this had happened, I think we eventually went down to the... What's the room called?
Recovery room.
Postnatal?
Yeah. No. Postnatal ward, yeah.
Postnatal ward. And I can't even tell you how horrible my first shower was. I could barely... I think I was doing steps like this. I could barely walk. I was like shaking. Everything hurt. Water hurt all my bits. I just felt disgusted. It wasn't comfortable to stand, and so I sat, and it wasn't comfortable to sit. And then you've got to put the big nappy type,
they gave you the
silly looking
adult
diaper on, and that just makes you feel really sexy. Anyway, so then I went out and I just got to nurse Teddy, and it was just I think at the time I thought to myself, this is just the most incredible moment, but I could never do it again. But now we want another one. We already want another one because he's just so beautiful. He's got a little bit of a dribble rash happening. It's just getting better now. We finally went to the doctors and they gave us antibiotics, but it didn't do anything.
So he's on a cream now.
So now he's on a cream and it seems to be healing it. But yeah, he's just...
We ended up staying the night, which was awful because the door to our room, the kind of secondary door they would open to get beds in and out, had little pins that would unlock manually if you need to open it. And because of those little pins, every time someone on our entire floor would open their door, it would rattle that little secondary door backwards and forwards. So we got pretty much zero sleep. Little Teddy had a headache because his head had been squished by the forceps.
And his face came out, I think...
bruised.
Yeah, it came out, he had like, it was right over his eye.
It's like his temple.
Yeah, he had just a big bruise, his head was like coney, and he was like bluey grey, was he?
Yeah, he was he looked like a bit of an alien.
We'll insert a photo. But yeah, it was just probably the most horrible but beautiful night. Like, just
it wasn't easy. And I never thought it would be easy. But you got knocked down. There was a lot of sort of small and large inconveniences throughout the night. You know, him being right on your spine. The epidural being delayed so long. The delay in dilation. You going back from 10 centimetres to 9 centimetres. And then Teddy being sort of off angle and having to come out with, as an assisted delivery with the forceps. And then a little bit of trouble feeding that first night. We had to feed you with a little syringe.
He just wouldn't attach. We actually got taught the wrong way.
In the breastfeeding class? In
the breastfeeding class. It was when we went back to the original way, because our midwife taught me how to do it. And it kind of worked for a little bit, and then we went to the breastfeeding class and I tried to do it the way that they were showing, and he just didn't want a bar of it.
They were telling you to hold him practically vertically down your body.
But it just wasn't comfortable for us, and I should have just done what worked for us, but we ended up having to feed him through a syringe to like pump out from my manually pump out from my nipple and straight into his mouth.
Yeah.
Which was just it was a bit disheartening, I guess. So breastfeeding, I think a lot of people think that, you know, as part of nature, the baby is supposed to just find the nipple and attach, but from my experience, it's not like that at all. It was really hard, and because I had learnt that or been told that the baby would just, you know, make its way to your nipple and latch, I kind of felt a bit disheartened that Teddy wasn't doing that. So once Teddy was ready, we had my parents come in and meet him, and Fletcher's parents come in, and my sister and Fletcher's brother as well, and everyone was just tears of joy because we had just waited for this beautiful little boy for so long. Like, it just felt like the longest pregnancy towards the end, and I think everyone was just so grateful that he came into the world so healthy, and just he's just the love of our lives because he's the first grandson as well, first little grandbaby for both of our parents.
So Haley's been through a bit of a, how do I put this, eventful birth. It's not that lots of things went wrong, but all of the things that could happen happened, except a C-section. Our little man. And we're just about to go home. Been in here 2 days, got the car seat ready to go. Very, very excited to get home, aren't we, darling?
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Exhausted.
Yeah? What are you most excited for?
Just having been home.
Yeah. You've done very well. She did very well. Just strapped Teddy into his car seat for the first time, and he fell asleep in, what was that, like
10 seconds.
10 seconds. Just give him a little rock, little champion. He's got these little bruises here from the forceps. They're like basically giant salad tongs. Not ideal, but they had to get him out. Haley had been pushing for a long time. So.
Fletcher and I were just exhausted and just the most tired I think we had ever been, and so we had spoken to my midwife, and she had said that once you get all the tests done with Teddy, you know, his hearing, and I think they test his sight as well or something, you can go home. So we did all that and everything checked out perfectly, and once we got home, I don't think our hearts have ever been more full. Nursing Teddy at home, he was latching then, and it was just like nothing I'd ever experienced before. Fletcher and I were the most tired we'd ever been, but somehow I think you just find a way to keep going, and for the first, I think it was like 3 nights, I was up all night. I remember sitting out watching all the TV shows while Teddy was just nursing, sleeping, and I remember saying Good Morning America every morning, like just little things like that. I just think the first moments are just so precious. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you liked my birth story. Sorry if it was a bit long. It was just like a super eventful 48 hours for Fletcher and myself. But yeah, I'll see you in my next video.